Hello, my name is Renaud Pourpre, and I'm... I should say what I am? Okay.
Again, start again.
Hello there.
Don't say Lonely Planet. Okay.
Right.
So, you ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. So, 1 second. Okay. So, thanks. So, okay.
Have a cup of tea. Hello, my name is Renaud Pourpre. I am one of the hosts of the Lonely Pipette, and I am really happy to be finishing the season 1 of the Lonely Pipette.
So my name is Jonathan Weitzman. I work on epigenetics at the University de Paris, and I am exhausted and proud to be finishing season 1 of the Lonely Pipette. So thanks for coming, Renaud.
Thanks to you, Jonathan.
So we're at the end of season 1, and we thought we'd do a just sort of a recap, a summing up. And today we don't have any guests. The only guests are Renaud Le Pourpre and Jonathan Epigenetique. And so we're just gonna share some thoughts, some very personal thoughts about this first season and how we got here. Mm-hmm. And maybe what we've learned, and maybe where we're going to go next.
Exactly.
Should I put on a French accent and say, we like to start with the origin story?
Yes, you should.
So Renaud, would you share with us your origin story?
Okay. We are going to put ourselves in this game of being the guests to each other. So if I should say my story of how I decided to become a scientist, I should say that I didn't want to be a researcher at first, but I got really interested in my doctor when I was young, because he was just helping people and having this science with him as a tool to help the people around. And I was fascinated by this man with this knowledge trying to help people around. So I wanted to follow this path, but when I got into an internship, I put a first step in a lab. I was around 14, and I've discovered all the machines, all the lab, all the backstage that not everybody can see when you are in the other side. It was quite a good experience to see all this work, how everything is being done. And it was not a research lab, it was actually a laboratory of analysis for people that get sick, and they get blood sample, urine, poo, everything like that. And at this moment, I knew that I wanted at some point to be in the lab and working for the science. So yeah, then I think I didn't change my mind until I end up into a PhD, and I realized that I was also really keen on sharing the science, and this is how I ended up here, trying to be now a science communicator, trying to help the production and the diffusion of science as much as I can.
That's great. So I think one of the things that we have in common is this commitment to helping scientists do better science. And so we're going to talk a little bit about where the podcasts came from and what motivated us to set it up. As we don't have a guest, it's gonna be a chance for the people to learn a bit more about what was behind the idea of the podcast and who are the people behind the idea.
So what about you now? What is your origin story?
What's my origin story? Starts with a sperm and an egg. A long time ago. So it's interesting because we've had guests, and a lot of them talked about always wanting to be a scientist, and and about meeting scientists when they were young and
chasing crocodiles.
So I didn't dream of being a scientist. But one of the reasons was my father was a scientist. And I guess, like lots of kids, the only thing I knew I didn't want to be was do exactly what my father did. So I actually spent a lot of my life trying to not be a scientist. And, but I kept coming back. And so I realized that it is my calling. And I think it just appeals to the job and the lifestyle appealed to so many parts of me. So being very curious, having amazing freedom to ask questions. I really love asking questions. And the freedom that comes with being a scientist, to just follow any curiosity, anything that just like, oh, how does that work? I think that's what really driven me. And I haven't had a linear career. So a lot of our guests had surprisingly linear careers. They were extremely successful when they were young. A lot of them straight from their PhD, and they knew that's what they want. And they've done these amazing things. I had a more tortuous journey, that I've spoke about actually on other people's podcasts more. I've always had a lot of doubt about whether this is what I want to do and whether I'm good enough to do this job. And that has driven me to step out again and again and again, sometimes just to travel around the world, sometimes to go and do completely different things. And I always came back. So this is really what I love to do.
So this is a love story that you have with science.
Yeah, it's a love and hate story. It's a love story, but it just like all love stories, you're not in love every minute of every year, of every day, of every. So the love has been more or less intense during the last few decades, and sometimes I wanted to go and discover something else that made me realize how much I like doing what I do.
So this is something that I would love that you share with our listeners, because we know a lot about other scientists out there, but there is something really interesting in your story that is that you have left several times and come back, and that you took sometimes away from the lab. Can you share what it was for you, if it was a need, if it has helped you to be where you are now?
So we have decided that the podcast is not about careers, right? So we haven't explored that much, and some other podcasts. So Papa PhDs, an obvious one, which is really about careers for scientists. And on some of those podcasts, I've talked more about why I left and why I came back. I'll share a little bit because probably a lot of people out there, I'm a little bit worried that some of our listeners might have found our guests just intimidating, because they have such a strong passion and conviction, and they all make it look so easy. Even when we ask them to tell us their failures, most of them had to struggle to find failures, and they didn't. So they make it look very, very linear. And we have a bit of a tendency to make things look linear. And life isn't linear. It doesn't work like that. There's lots of unplanned things. And we're not always that honest about it, partly because when we go in front of recruitment committees and funding agencies, we want to make it look very linear because it looks convincing. It looks like we're a good bet. But my career wasn't like that. A lot of it was doubt, whether this is what I want to do, but also really whether I was good enough. Mm-hmm. You see so many amazing people around us, and they're brilliant and passionate, and sometimes you think, wow, I'm not good enough. So a lot of that, and a lot of also just frustration, wanting to contribute to society in different ways, and wanting to explore different parts of me. Whether it's communication or interface with business or writing or lots of things. And the other thing is that if you, it is a love story, and when the love just drops a little bit, you just think, why am I doing this terribly difficult, badly paid, overworked job? And if you lose that motivation, it's really hard to keep going. So some of it was frustration. Most importantly, I just think it's about the journey. It's not about being there or the label. It's about the journey. And I just wanted to see other things a little bit, because you think the grass is always greener. And then I realized that each time that actually, even though I had fantastic experiences outside, that I love this job.
Maybe to get to another point is, in my scientific career, I've considered you as my first real mentor, guiding me through the studies first, and then through science, and now through another step of my career. And I consider you as a brilliant scientist that have achieved a lot of great things. And so in regard to this, and seeing how your career was also not linear in academia, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the people out there should consider that having a non-linear career or having a linear career should not matter, and that they can achieve what they want, even if it takes not the step that is straightforward?
So first of all, it's very kind of you to say those things, and I should say, so we embarked on this together, and part of the attraction of doing it together was that we're at very different points in our career and have very different skill sets, and I've learned a lot from doing this with you. So I'm very grateful to you, because I was thinking about the podcast for a long, long time, but meeting you has helped it happen. So that's turned it from a dream into a reality. So I'm very grateful to you for that. So I really do want to insist that we make things look linear. We do it in papers as well. So scientific papers, they start with hypothesis, they have experiments, results, conclusions, and it all looks very linear. And once I was giving a seminar about our work, and it had been very well published, and we was very proud, and I gave, and at the end, one of the students said, "Wow, did it really happen like that?" And I said, "Actually, I'm going to take the time and tell you, because it didn't happen like that at all." So when we write it, there's a lot of storytelling that makes it look simple. And maybe that's one of the challenges, is to take this terrible, tortuous path where most of the experiments don't work at, and then make it look simple, because it makes everyone feel that this is doable. And you don't want to talk about all the experiments that didn't work. But we know that the paper wouldn't be the paper unless you'd done all those experiments that didn't work. They're part of what helps you get to the experiments that did work and the conclusions that you want to share. And I think careers is pretty similar. Some people get very lucky, and some people just need to experiment a lot. And the experiments they're not failures. They're experiments from which you learn and that allow you to present it in a way that looks convincing and inspiring. So I really do feel that you need to experiment. Just, you're a scientist, so you need to take a scientific approach, which is you have an idea, you follow it, you follow your curiosity, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's just wrong, and that's okay. And whether it's right or wrong, you learn, just like experiments, whether it's right or wrong, you still learn things. And as long as you keep learning and bring those back, so you for example, Renaud, so we first met when you were my student on the Magistère de Génétique, so this very prestigious master's program that trains France's brightest for careers in genetics. And we sent you on internships in America, and we helped you get a PhD fellowship, and we trained you to be a research scientist. And then suddenly, when you'd made it, you decided you wanted to do something else. And I would really encourage you must never say, "I wasted my time," or what you learned during the masters and during your internships and during your PhD will be fantastically useful as a science communicator, if that's what you're going to be. And if you're not a science communicator, you'll be something else. I have no doubt. And everywhere you go, you pick up things. And that's, I think that we should celebrate these non-linear careers. And if people have linear, it's great. Not all of them. Oded told us that he went to Paris to be a painter and then went back to science. And Magdalena told us that she started in the lab and finished on the other side of the castle wall, defending the journal. So we saw a little bit. Susan started off in philosophy, and they were all so talented that they could have done lots. They all would have succeeded whatever they'd done.
I see that they are also really diverse in their story and in their path. And one of the things that I will take out from the few episodes that we have done until now will be that it's true that when we are young researcher or more advanced researcher, we tend to look to models or to people ahead of us to see what is their way to do it, how they have achieved success, avoid failure, and we try to do the same. What I see is there is so much diversity in these stories that this means that everybody can make his own story and still make it happen. One of the things I really liked from Magdalena is that she said that the success has really many faces. And this is probably one of the tips that I've enjoyed the most. If you achieve a success, but this is not what you want for your success, you just achieve the success of another model that is not yours, you're not going to be happy with this. And at the end, you will not fit with what is yours. So what I get from all of this, and this is what I would like to share with the people today, is you should look at models. You should get inspired by them. You should pick what fits with your identity and your story, and you should make your own, because you have your own identity, you have your own story. And I think you're not a failure. And as Wendy Wigmore said, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. And actually, if you're never wrong, I think at some point you stop learning, because you stop listening. You think if you're not wrong at some moment, you don't realize that you can still learn something.
Yeah. So one of the sort of ideas behind this type of podcast format is that by interviewing successful people, we might see some recurring themes, some habits, some clues that in common. And I think one of the conclusions, as you say, is right, is that they're all so different. That
maybe we don't have enough episodes to do a statistical analysis.
Yeah, it's not very statistical, but so it's interesting to ask the question, and maybe our listeners will send us some feedback about what are the common threads. So these careers that we've looked at and the personalities that we've looked at are so different, and yet they're all successful either by their own criteria or by other people's criteria. And they're all inspiring. That's something that has been, I think everyone got something out of it, and what people get may be very different depending on what they hear and where they are in their lives. And so there aren't many common themes. I thought there might be some morning practice or something. So we didn't see many of those. So these people come.
I got that there are a lot of gardeners. There is something about gardening, no?
Yeah. So I like gardening. I mean, I like being in the garden. I think being in nature is good generally. So being outside and being.
Actually, there is the Altmetrics review every year of the top 100 paper, and I've checked it before we record this podcast, and I was amazed to find out that I got it here in my notes that rated in the top 10, you have one paper published that is called "Spending Time in the Garden is Positively Associated with Health and Well-Being. Results from a national survey in England." So maybe
outside, but in the rain. So yeah, no, I do think that being outside is important, and I guess having good mental health is also important to be a successful scientist. So we did see some common themes. One is the importance of random chance encounters. So, from very early episodes. So Harmet told us that by chance he met a professor in India who just helped him learn molecular biology and encouraged him, gave him the courage to apply to PhD programs in the States. And each of them has told some kind of story where there's a random encounter, but that left a mark on them. And so I guess all of us have that. So maybe you need to seek out those mentor relationships. But the other thing that was very common is how many of them moved country. And I think this has been, so you ask about my journey. I think this is really important to see something completely different that challenges all your references, all your cultural references. And that's difficult, but I think it's really, really important as a scientist. And to be successful, you need to have the courage to step out of your comfort zone. And then how do we teach that? How do we teach people to step out of their comfort zone? And in a world that's difficult, in a world that's competitive, and so So I think I've been inspired by that. What is it so you're not a bench scientist anymore, but you're working in science communication. You're using your science background. You're interacting with a lot of scientists. What have you enjoyed most from these conversations? What has inspired you the most?
Yeah, actually, that's funny because I don't know when at a corner of a discussion with someone asked me, why are you doing this? I mean, what is the purpose of this? You're not even in the lab anymore. Why? You can do something else, like play video games or try to learn cooking.
Or something useful, right?
Actually, I've thought about that a bit, and I think that somehow this podcast was a cure for me. A treatment for all the questions I had when I was a PhD student. And there were so many questions, not about my science, but about how to do it. And I first asked you, and you told me, as this is the origin story also of our podcast, that you had also questions. Somehow, yeah, I have my answers, and I still have other questions. If I can get these answers and I have the opportunity to share them, let's do it, because this is what we have seen during the podcast. I think all those people, they have also maybe a pattern around them, that is, they ask people, they talk with people, they keep being connected, and to try to improve themselves all the time, questioning themselves. If we can share this mentality and try to help each other, let's do it. And we cannot avoid the topic that we've been through 1 year, this pandemic of coronavirus. You said me before that we need scientists to keep being connected. And somehow I'm still doing it, because if I can help people to stay being connected, and if I can help them getting the answers that I wanted, okay, let's do it, because I would have loved during my PhD that someone did it to me.
So that was one of my motivations, was the idea that that there's a lot of discussion about mentoring, and some people are very lucky and end up in labs where they have a natural mentor, but some people don't. And the question was, how can we make mentoring advice and from successful scientists, how can we offer that to a larger audience, so that if you're lucky and you meet one of these people in a bar at a meeting, that's great. But if you don't, you can still feel that you benefited from interacting with them or just listening to them. So I've also been asked, and asking myself, but also been asked, why are you doing this? And instead of writing papers and grants, so what you actually paid for. So I had a discussion with several people before we started, and not everyone was convinced that this would work and this would be a good investment of time. And I did realize that this phrase, helping scientists do better science, is really sort of sums up, it brings all the aspects of my scientific career or scientific practice today together. So, I teach, which is really about helping young people navigate becoming a scientist or doing better science. And I mentor in the lab, and I set up an institute, and I set up interdisciplinary consortium, and I wrote a book, and all these things have been really around this central theme of creating spaces in time or in which people can be inspired to do better science. And this is, so this has really replied to that need and that motivation. So that's been very satisfying. The other thing is I one of the podcasts that I listen to, American podcast, Tim Ferriss always says, scratch your own itch, meaning, even if no one's going to listen, you want to create a podcast that would be the podcast that you would have wanted to have. And I think what's been really fun is just, it's a great excuse to call up Bob Weinberg and say, can you give us an hour of your time? And, and we only got interrupted once by his wife playing her electric guitar. And it's just the chance to ask these people. So I've enjoyed that. And I think one of the things that we talked about at the beginning is not just asking questions, but learning to be a better listener. And that's been interesting in this format. And there's something very intimate about the podcast format. Mm-hmm. You feel that you're really with these people, that you're spending an hour with them around, in a bar or around the fire. I've been also surprised that we could ask them very personal questions.
And we were thinking it would be difficult, yeah.
And get quite personal answers,
Yeah.
Wendy Bickmore told us that she sometimes she's at scientific meetings and she needs to just get away from everyone and go shopping. And Maria Elena told us that she's not much fun at breakfast, and and Susan Gasser shared that how important it was to have a family. And
I think it was a good reminder that sometimes behind the cold data there is a warmer human, and this is something.
Yeah, the other thing that we've really showed, and I think, I don't know whether we set out to do that or not, but these people many of them have taken very senior positions as heads of institutes. So Susan and Wendy and Fiona is head of the Medical Research Council. But you don't get the feeling that they were driven by this ambition to be a director. None of them, they all sort of, I think one of them, I can't remember who it was, but one of them said, I took it because I didn't want someone to do a terrible job of what I've created.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it was Wendy maybe. And we're calling them all by their first names because they all sort of feel like friends, right? So, but I think sometimes just putting on the director, writing director on your door, gives you the courage to lead, and then responsibility to lead and the satisfaction from leading. So I think all of them talked about not just about their mentors, but also how proud they are of their mentees.
Mm-hmm. It's something that I realize is because it was a fear also as a young scientist. I had a lot of fears. I thought I had to be ready to start something or to jump into this high or next responsibility thing. And when we were asking them, how did you know that you were ready? I think all of them say, I don't know, I just did it. And I think this is something that I really enjoyed to hear, because it doesn't mean that everybody will take it and everybody is fitted to do it. But they were driven by values and conviction that they could try to do the best they can. And when they were offered to do it, they just jump in the boat, yeah?
These people's careers, and maybe even their science, is not so intellectualized. It's not, Oded, it's not about planning, right? It's, as Maria Elena said, you just go for it. She kept saying, just go for it. So sometimes you just have to have the courage to jump. And that's true intellectually and scientifically. And if you wait till you're ready, as you say, you'll never be ready, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
It's like falling in love or having children. Yeah, you're never ready for these crazy things.
If we want to talk about feedback now, I had an interesting question before. Maybe we read or we listen to some of the listeners. I had one question before on all the feedbacks that you've got from the people around you or the listeners. What is the most surprising one or the weirdest one that you got?
I mean, there are lots of people who've say they've been inspired, which is great. I don't know what I was expecting or not, but it was interesting to see on Twitter how people shared where they listened to the Lonely Pipette. So people were listening to Tissue Culture or in the microscope room, or some people I think went out for a run just to listen to it, or in the car on the way home from work, and it was nice to hear those. So you sort of felt like you were with them in the Tissue Culture room or the microscope room. I think the most touching are when we started, we said that at least we'd have your mother and my mother who would be listening to it. I don't even know whether I don't know how good your mother's English is, but so it's been great to have non-working scientists listen as well. And I guess it's because at the end of the day, we're telling stories about human beings, which is just interesting for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most touching has been people you don't know. Occasionally there's a message from a woman in India saying, I was having a bad day and then I discovered your podcast and now I remember why I'm a scientist. And that's been really, really touching. So the idea that you can touch someone on the other side of the world that you've never met and make their day or help them not get bored in the tissue culture or the microscope or that's what it's not surprising because that's what we'd hoped for.
Yeah.
But it's still nice. It's still comforting when you get it, and
not only dream it.
It has been touching and humbling. Yeah, and we've had people who we don't know contact us and say, "What can I do to help? How can I get involved?" And that's great. And so we have lots of ideas of how people can get involved and how we can build the community. So we did know that we wanted to build a community, but we didn't talk about it that much about how we would do that. But that's just sort of happened. That's been great. So
one thing about the surprising feedback I have to share, I think, and I got other feedbacks, similar feedbacks after the last episode with Magdalena. I received a message, a text message of someone telling me he thought that all the episodes of the Lonely Pipette were great, but the last one was a bit changing. And I got like, oh, have we done something wrong? Or it was we asked Magdalena to come because she was a researcher before and we wanted to hear this story because she has a really interesting story and we wanted, even if she's not in the lab right now, we wanted to have this story in our podcast. And he told me, no, it's because I love what I'm doing. I love research, but I might think now that I would be maybe more helpful as a editor.
Okay.
And that was really surprising because this is not, we aim to help scientists do better science, but of course, scientists can still help to do better science in other jobs. Our podcast is not to talk about careers and whatever, because there are a lot of podcasts doing some other really good job there, like Papa PhD, for example. But if somehow the format of our podcast help people to realize important things for them, I think we achieved the goal that we wanted.
So one thing people have asked is will it be just life scientists? Will it be just biologists? Obviously, that's where we started because that's where our friends are. But maybe we will have physicists or social scientists on season 2.
Yeah,
because I think that because it's been more about the scientists and less about the science, it may be that we can learn from people in different fields. And another issue people have raised is will it be only restricted to academics? So Magdalena is no longer an academic scientist, and I have some people on my guest wish list who are doing science in industry, either in startups or in big industries, who be really interesting to hear their thoughts. So I want to share a feedback actually. So the Twitter feedback has just been amazing, and if you're not on Twitter, you have to be on Twitter. But just so often people ask me who's it for? Is it just for young scientists? So I want to just quote a tweet from the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the UNSW in Sydney, Australia, okay, which is really the other side of the world. And this is Merlin, who actually I met when I was a PhD student.
Really?
A long, long time ago. And I'm just going to read that because I haven't seen Merlin for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was just great. I was moved by his tweet. So he said, enjoying Lonely Pipette podcasts, interviewing lab heads, big names, newer names, much resonates, themes, play nice, don't micromanage, work hard, be original. Everyone hurts sometimes. Impact factors don't count. Oops. They do. We wish they didn't. Happy labs are all alike. So that's from Merlin, who's the other side of the world. So
yeah, should we try to read the one that some listeners have written under our tweet calling for participation?
So there was one last week from Clara who sent a photo of her tubes all organized, and she says, organizing or procrastinating while while listening to the Lonely Pipette. Such an inspiring and motivating show. And then there's a picture of all her tubes all labeled. I do feel that some lab heads should thank us for the extra time that people spent into a microscope. So
actually, we are doing 1 hour format, so people stay until the end of the experiment.
So do you have a couple of favorites that you want to read out?
So I have picked the few that some people sent us, and so we asked them if they wanted to comment or just send us a voice message. So I haven't listened to them, so I think it will be a surprise for both of us. So I'm not going to say the name. I'm going to destroy their name. I'm so sorry. So we asked them, what's your favorite tip, and from a guest, and why? If they have their own tip to overcome a challenge shared by one of the guests, and a specific question that they want to ask us. So we got someone called All Like Nig. I'm so sorry. The favorite tip was from Fiona Watts. Don't be afraid to report misbehavior. So much still happens. The tip this person share. Celebrate rejections. So actually on this, Jonathan, I think you have some kind of poster of failure or something like that, no?
Yeah, so that was so last year for the sort of unit Christmas party, they wanted every team to make a poster of the year. And of course, everyone was writing about all the papers they published and all these great things. And I said to my team, why don't we make a poster to celebrate failure? And so everyone put in something that didn't work, an experiment, a grant application, a paper rejection. And we made this big poster with all these failures and put it up in the corridor. Yeah. So I think I think there's a lot of celebrating success, and I think it's really important to celebrate success, and really important to celebrate other people's success. So in the unit where I work, we have a newsletter, and we celebrate everyone's success, and if you're jealous, it should only be jealous enough to motivate you to do as well yourself. And in France, every time anyone publishes a paper or gets a grant, you open a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
In France, you open a bottle of champagne.
A piece of cake. It's all. There is always a reason to do.
So it is important to celebrate success, but the failures are important as well, and we shouldn't forget them. Yeah.
So the question from this person: is it a second series already planned? Because this was real fun and so uplifting. So yes, there is something planned. There is a season 2 planned. We need a bit of time to reset and to have our guests align with us to have this content. But yes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna keep the format. I don't know whether we're gonna be doing it always by Zoom. Maybe we'll actually get to meet our guests in the studio.
I have some ideas on this, I will tell you, but I'm not telling the listeners. Surprise!
And then we're really interested. So we've been very present on Twitter and a little bit on LinkedIn. We're very interested in using other ways of communicating. I still have my dream about the Lonely Pipette on TikTok, and so. But there will be we've had some suggestions from listeners about people they'd like to hear and questions they'd like to hear. We have some people who we couldn't quite get for season 1, but have promised they'll be there for season 2. Yeah. So yeah, we want to have very different voices. So
it will be the same good, but new ones even better. But yeah, I think we agree that we are really interested in people getting these tips outside of academia back inside academia. If we can talk with these scientists that are in other contexts, we can really try to do this exchange between the fields and try to distill out all the best from it.
It's not to say everything's been great, but I'm really happy with the format. I do like the format, so I think we're going to keep a very similar format. But it didn't come from nowhere. So we spent, I don't know if you remember, first of all, we spent hours and hours and hours discussing what was going to be the name of the podcast.
The name of it.
So if you're doing a podcast, don't worry too much about the name. Just do it, as Maria Elena said.
Don't spend days on it.
So we did spend a lot of time. I like the name, so we're happy with that.
I like it too.
And there'll be some, so we should say there are going to be some Lonely Pipette goodies. We're definitely working on that. So there will be some. And
you can tell us if you have some beloved goodies that you will love to have.
So there will be goodies, and there'll be. We've got lots of surprises in store. But we spent a lot of time talking about what the questions we wanted to ask. We had lots and lots of lists of questions. So people shouldn't think it just came from, we do our homework and we do a lot of preparation. We do sound checks before and everything. But thanks everyone for all the help you've given us. It's been fantastic. So
I think the community has helped us a lot to share it. So we have the second one from Balint that say, my favorite message that I've taken to heart is Hamid Malik views on mentorship. I think it was quite a successful episode like all the others, but mentorship was the main theme on this episode, and I think it has helped a lot the people to keep as open of mind as possible in order to find the diamond in the rough. A very powerful and important message that I have wholly adopted. Thank you, Hamid. And so we got one suggestions for season 2 from Max. So multivocal, which is suggesting that we have several guests at the same time.
I think this is challenging.
This is really challenging to fit in 1 hour, but as I said, I have some ideas that I will share with you off, and we will discuss about that. But maybe. We could think about that, but it's going to be challenging for sure. And I think we were thinking about season 2 still having one person make it very personal and intimate. But why not thinking with this? Maybe in another format, but why not? So should we listen to the message, the voice message?
Yeah.
If Jonathan and Renaud would ask me what is my morning routine, as a PhD student, I would say that I wake up not ready at all for another lab day, and I'll have breakfast while I listen to the Lonely Pipette, and only then I would be ready to go to work.
All right.
So that's nice. So I don't know where Viviana is, but the idea of listening to me at breakfast. So if you remember Maria Elena, she told us that don't speak to her at breakfast because.
So you should listen to Lonely Pipette instead.
Because she's always so fast and excited, and she said I'm slow at breakfast. So.
That's super nice from Vienna. Thank you. It's a really kind message, and we hope that all of you will listen to the Lonely Pipette at breakfast. That's a good morning routine, actually. Listen to us.
So Maëlys, who's a student at the University de Paris, so she tweeted saying that it was inspirational, but she also said, "I cannot find a better way to start my day." So yeah, so you might be an hour late for work.
Now we know why.
But yeah, but at least you've had one of the Lonely Pipettes in your ears to inspire you. And if I don't know if you remember, but some of them get up very early in the morning.
Yeah, really early.
I think Susan gets up at 5 or something.
Yeah. I'm not that early, I have to say.
And Oded, he's tweeting all night. So
Never sleep.
It doesn't matter how early you wake up in the morning. You can share whatever you want with Oded before breakfast. So, yeah. So shall we play another one?
Yeah, let's go.
Hello. Thank you so much for recording this podcast. It's really great to listen to you guys when one has a long experiment. So my favorite tip from the show was from Oded Rachavi. He suggested to look at science more of as a sport. And I think that's actually really great because sometimes we tend to think of experiments, and especially failed experiments, as something that's really bad for us and really haunts us. Well, actually, if you can think about them just as a game, then it's easier to think, well, I can just come back tomorrow and try something different. So I found that a really good piece of advice. And if I can give a tip for next season, I think it would be really great to have interviews where you also ask how to deal with people that you work with. May it be people in the lab, for example, that you might have some confrontation with or a disagreement, or even people actually that you share a paper with, so your collaborators, and how to best deal with this kind of confrontation. So thank you very much and keep up the great work. Thank you.
That was great. That was great. Thank you, Anonymous. We don't know who you are. You stay anonymous.
That was really nice. So
yeah, that was really nice. Yeah.
So it is true. So Oded maybe typified it even more than some of the others. The idea that science is fun, and that if you approach it as a fun game where you can always get better, or as a sport. The question about conflict. So we did ask the question a couple of times, but it would be good. And and one of the, as you said, about scratching your own itch. So one of the questions that I'm interested in is how we have discussions about authorship and collaboration, and so that would be a good question to add to our list. So Susan told us, if you remember, that she takes you out for a beer if she feels you need a chat.
Yeah, I think maybe not everybody love beers, but you can find a moment to have a small chat, more comfortable. I think I asked you for a coffee, not for a beer, but to have a small chat. So and same for my director of my PhD. Actually, we started to talk around a beer. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Maybe we should be more brave to ask, to have this moment, to have talks outside the lab. To maybe being outside the lab in another environment helps to release a bit the pressure and talking. So
I did my PhD in England, where at the time the pub had closing hours and opening hours. So the pub would open at the end of the afternoon, and we would often go to the pub together, and one of the PIs or the head of the institute or the head of the lab would buy the first round of drinks for everyone. And it's true, it was just being in a different environment made it easier to talk. But I would encourage people that you need to learn to talk to your supervisor and say when there's something wrong. Often, we're not all terrible, mean people, but sometimes we're just really busy and we need to be told, I need to talk to you. So the first challenge must be to say, can we just sit down and talk? And maybe you'll be surprised how a lot of conflicts. So I think most of the conflicts in the lab, probably most conflicts anywhere, but most of the conflicts in the lab are communication problems.
Yeah.
I've often had people in the lab just say, I need to talk to you. And sometimes I've been surprised what they said because I just didn't see it coming, or I was just wrapped up in my own thing, so that I needed to learn to hear them. And learning to listen is really important. So That's one thing that I've learned from the podcast is to, as I said, to become a better listener. And I think that's it's not so easy to be a listener. So,
and on the other side, I think it's going to require bravery to go out there, knock at the door, and say, "Please, I need to talk about something that is not the data," because we are used to speak and to talk around data, but not about our feelings. So I know that more I was waiting, more I was boiling. And I think I found the strength to go and talk when I was hitting my level of boiling up. And I was like, okay, I cannot wait more because...
That's too late.
Because
sometimes you can diffuse the
if you reach this level, you're going to explode, and you can be sure that it's not going to be productive discussion, because you will just throw feelings at your faces, and there is all this frustration that come because you have you feel that you have missed the day, your boss maybe had a rough day too, and you just release everything at the same time. So I don't know, there were a lab next door, they were going for a jogging. I didn't go with them to do the sports, but I know that they were discussing, because when you are jogging, most of the time you end up discussing quite a lot. And this can be also good moments to, I mean, you are in the move, so if something happened, you can still run. You're already in the move. So, but yeah, taking yourself out in another context maybe can help.
Yeah, I think this is important. So I like to go for a walk, and I have a few colleagues that we do a walk and talk just to get out of the lab. And I think you're right that the lab is sociologically, the lab is an amazing place because it's a very small space, right? And you're meeting people and crossing them all the time, and it can be very busy and lonely at the same time. And there's a lot of things going on where, you know, we're all worried about papers and results and careers, and so sometimes it's good to remember that if you're lonely, first of all, listen to the Lonely Pipette, but also if you're lonely, maybe other people in the lab are also struggling. You know, I think people forget that PIs, and that's what we try to show, that also people with their own concerns and worries and anxieties. And sometimes you're right. So in England, it's the pub. In France, it's lunchtime. That's the sacred time when
you speak during the lunch, yeah.
when the masks come off, or it could be having breakfast together, whatever it is. So it is important to find some other way to interact. And when we had the retreat, actually, the last retreat we had, I insisted that everyone sit next to someone different at each meal. And it was amazing that, you know, these people, you're in the lab all the time, but actually when you sit down with the technician in the lab next door or the PI down the corridor, you realize that actually you don't know these people so well, and that they have lives and feelings and all sorts of things. And, you know, it's not just about the data. And this is really important. We're working together, and you've got to remember these people are people. So I hope that was helpful for the listener. But we have asked questions about conflict, and we could ask more questions about how people manage collaborations, because collaborations are always complicated. Shall we listen to the last one?
Last one, yeah.
Hi, Lonely Pipette. My favorite tip came from Malik, and it was in relation to what kind of mentoring style do we choose. And in association with other comments by other speakers who said that there is a big risk of choosing the wrong people when you start a new lab, which may be right, but maybe just an easy way of looking at it. So Hamid Malik said that we should actually acknowledge that our students may be different from us in their personality and also in the mentoring style that they need. Some need freedom, some need more security, and we just need to adapt and help our students to become the best version of themselves. So I really like that tip, and it's what I try to follow. And for the rest, I can just congratulate you and keep going.
That was super nice. Thank you, Katja. And it's true that I can see how, or maybe not, it should be hard for a PI to handle all the diversity of students and to have to adapt to them.
I think it's so thank you, Katja. I think it's a great piece of feedback. So several things to say. The first is that I emphasize, and I know my brother does the same in his lab, that people in the lab are not working for me, they're working for them. I think that helps. You know, it's not a normal sort of boss-employee relationship, because we're working together, and if they're doing experiments for me, then the whole thing's wrong. So they need to be self-motivated. But it's also hard to realize that not everyone's in it for the same thing or the same reason or the same motivation, and it is hard to. I mean, sometimes we just. That's what I said before. Sometimes the supervisor just needs reminding that you're not a supervisor, you're a student or postdoc or whatever. And my mentor Moshe Yaniv was. He was, you know, wasn't the perfect mentor. There's no such thing as a perfect mentor. And there were things about him that drove me crazy, just like all mentors. But there was one thing he was very good at, which was, everyone is good at something, right? And Moshe was very good. Nesh, we used to call him Nesh. He was very good at finding people's strength and using that. So for example,
a skill.
Yeah. So, for example, I do write. I mean, I like to think that I write well. So he would involve me in writing. Some other people were. Everyone has something that they're good at, and he was good at acknowledging that people's strengths and letting the weaknesses go. What's hard for a PI is that every student and every postdoc is different. They all have different needs, and So of course they're different people, but it means you have to learn your job every time again. I really liked Katja's comment, helping people be the best version of themselves, and not the best version of what I think they should be, but really the best version of themselves. So that's a nice ambition for a leader. But part of that is communicating, is asking people what it is they need. So I do try to ask people in the lab what it is they need from me, and be very honest about what I can't do, how I can't help.
For what I hear here is that everything starts by having good conversation, and it requires that someone listen and someone is enough brave to talk and be honest too. So this is a teamwork to try to advise each other on what we could achieve the most and what are our strengths. This is a good start.
Helping scientists do better science. I think everyone can aim to be a better version of themselves, or the best version of themselves. And the aim was that by listening, having these conversations with people at different cultures and different backgrounds and different successes, and getting them to be as honest and open as possible, that we'd help collectively become better versions of ourselves and better scientists. And I think you can always get better. I know. Yeah.
All right. So having announced the season 2, I think we need now to close the season 1. And it was a great adventure for me. I think it was also a great adventure for you. And it's not finished. But I'm really looking forward to season 2 with more guests, more tips, more surprises, and new topics that I think will help.
So I hope this has helped everyone feel a little bit less lonely. And thanks for the amazing feedback from everyone. And thank you, Renaud, for all your work. And I'm excited to start recording season 2.
Yeah, I should say too, thanks to the listeners for being here to share the podcast with the people, with the colleagues, with friends, with everybody. Thanks, Jonathan, for believing in me. Let's do it again for season 2. À bientôt.
À bientôt.
So that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us at the Lonely Pipette.
We hope that you learnt something new, that something resonated with your own experiences, or that you just enjoyed the science.
Let us know your thoughts on Twitter at Lonely Pipette, and please share it with your friends in the lab. If you want to join our community, you can subscribe to the Lonely Pipette mailing list or mail us by following the link available on our Twitter profile. You will receive the next episodes directly in your mailbox. How cool is that?
Stay tuned for the next show, and remember, you might feel like a lonely pipette, but it doesn't mean you're alone. Tips from the Lonely Pipette can help you to do better science.
À bientôt!
À bientôt!
Hey guys, one last thing to finish up. If you like the soundtrack of the show, you might want to know who is the artist behind it. The song is called Lovely Swindler by Amaria, a talented French artist who composes electro swing. We are really grateful for allowing us to use it, and if you like it too, the best thing to do is to share it. Thanks again, and see you soon!